Greetings, assalamu alaikum. It's your girl Rhadiyah of Rhadiyah Spa Essentials and RhadiyahHutchen.com. Let me invite some people. Let's see here. Okay, sent some there. Let me send some here. Hey, assalamu alaikum. Thank you so much for joining. I hope your Eid was good. Inshallah. While we wait for a couple more people to come on, what did you wind up doing for Eid? So okay, today I'm just doing it was too confusing doing Facebook and both my Instagrams. So, and mind you, on Facebook I have two fan pages, one for the Muslims and one for the general public. So it's a big hectic. That's why I said let me just have everyone come to one of my platforms on Instagram. Although I've got people on my other one as well. Just give another minute because I want to make sure that what I have to say only lasts an hour. Hey Chanel, thank you for joining. So today we are doing a girls talk, and the reason many times I come on here to talk about issues as it relates to females and being a woman or a young girl is because that is where I feel that the conversation should begin, when we are girls. Just not waiting until our cycle comes, but having the talk before our cycles, so that once our cycles come, we know what to expect and it's not so scary. So today we're going to talk about the importance of vaginal health, what it is, and things that we can do to have good vaginal health. So one of the first things that we can do is making sure that what we're eating and drinking is to our benefit, meaning we need a multiple vitamin of some sort. You know me, this is one in which I take regularly. I do have other things that I, as you get to know me, I do share. So, if, for whatever reason, nutraburst doesn't suit your fancy, I've got some other things that you can look to. So that, and another thing, and I didn't, unfortunately, I'm so sorry, I wasn't able to bring that with me. Otherwise, my desk would be full. As you see, as I go, you'll see I've got a lot that I'll be talking about and showing you. So I didn't have the ability to bring this with me, but good probiotic. And why a probiotic? Because that helps with friendly bacteria. That we have both friendly and unfriendly bacteria, and we want to make sure that it's balanced. that, we could also make sure we have more friendly bacteria than we have bad bacteria, so that again, the focus is on good vaginal health. And so other reasons why we want good vaginal health is because perhaps, and there are some people do not recognize that they have their own scent. And that could be perspiration, that could be vaginal, body odor. And so if you're not aware, and others are, you don't want to be offensive to anyone else. So this is another reason why we want to have good vaginal health. And we also want to start paying attention to not only what we are consuming or not consuming, but what we are putting on our skin. And the reason being is because the skin is the biggest or eliminative organ that we have. So whatever we put on our skin, unless it's something that blocks the pores, we want it to go through all 7 layers of the skin. And so, assalamu alaikum, welcome. So again, we want to make sure that whatever we're putting on our body will be good once it goes inside of our body, because once it touches the skin, it will eventually reach the inside of our bodies as well. So other things, some of you as non-Muslims may not be familiar, but we as Muslims, when we use the bathroom, we use what is called a bidet or an extension bottle. Yeah, there you go. And so what we put in here is water. And so when we use the bathroom, just like when we change our babies when they're in diapers, we get wipes to clean them. And the reason being is because the baby will develop a rash. So the same, I don't know why it is, and I find this really only with Americans, unfortunately, and we're the leader of the pack. All countries want to be westernized, and the U.S. is leading that pack. But and I learned this once I became Muslim. Actually, I did see, before I became Muslim, I visited Europe, and where we were supposed to use the bathroom on this particular excursion that we were on had a bidet, but it was from the ground. And I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know what it was, but I was like, I'm going to hold it. And I held it, I think, for 2 or 4 more hours until we got back to our hostel. But now, since having embraced Islam, since Allah guided me to Islam, I came to know the importance of the extension bottle. Because why? For us as Muslims, we cannot have any impurities at all when we pray. And that's from our private parts to our clothing. We can't be offensive to others that we might be praying with, or to the malaika, the angels that will be recording our prayers. So, assalamu alaikum, ahlan, welcome. So this is why we wash ourselves. One thing that I fell in love with when I was overseas later in life as an adult, excuse me, in both, I'll just say in majority Muslim countries, especially if they are modern, they have the manual bidet. So it's like a hose, and you spray yourself. And we fell in love with that so much that when we returned to the States, I didn't even have to say anything. My then husband went out and bought some and had them installed in the toilet. So that there's no excuse. Because one thing that I can't stand about the extension bottle is there might be some water in it. And as each person uses it, they don't think, unless you tell them, meaning children, some adults too, to refill it. So this was always problematic for me. But a Muslim who knows about extension never leaves home without it, and never attempts to make a prayer without having done this first. And then we make ablution, or wudu. That's what it's called in Arabic. So That's one of the things that I wanted to talk about in terms of good vaginal health. So I mentioned about babies. So I don't know what it is or why it is, but once a child is potty trained, we then stop encouraging or having them use, or us going behind to make sure that the child has wiped themselves clean, that the tissue that we use is wet. Because how can a child, how can you be fully clean if you don't use water? So this is why from infancy until we die, water is very important to a Muslim and should be important to all people. So we don't use anything dry, it's always wet. And then behind that, to make sure we get all of the water off, we use what is dry, so that we don't wet our underwear or our clothes or anything like that. So one other thing I wanted to talk about in regards to babies, the diapers. Okay. So the diapers, the way that the majority of them are made, if you're using the disposable ones, the bottom layer has no breathability. It is usually plastic. Hey, thanks for joining. And it's made with plastic. So all of the layers that, it is absorbed. It has the best absorbency system. However, it just stays there. And so this is why it's important that when we have our babies and we're changing their diapers, that we, pay attention to how often, or to go ahead and change them often, so that urine or that poop doesn't stay on their skin, so that they don't further develop rashes and things of that nature. Assalamu alaikum, ahlan, welcome. Thank you for joining. So, so we go from that to other phases. As we get older, we become young girls, young women, and then into adulthood. And the reason I'm mentioning all of this is because that industry is none other than the sanitary napkin industry. And it is $1 billion industry. And they own all of those things. So for them, and if you recognize anything about the US, we are a capitalistic society. So they dominate. And so much so, let's talk about some of these things that some of us may have grown up with. Remember these? Remember that? Of course, I'm telling my age and sharing this. I really did not think that the stores still carried these. But old school, the older adults, they're probably still using these. So in case those of you don't know, and if a child comes and watches this, this is what my mother and her generation would use to clean her vagina after her cycle, or if on the onset of a yeast infection. So, if anybody's anything like me, my mother didn't tell me anything. She just had these things in the bathroom for her to use, and then my sister would later use certain things. I don't know what all everybody used, but I saw these things in the bathroom. And so I'm sharing all of these things that again, these are all things that I'm sharing with you are part of the $1 billion industry of the sanitary napkin industry. And all of their products are registered, in particular the sanitary napkins, as medical devices. And this is why they can get away with not putting labels as far as the ingredients in sanitary napkins on their packaging. So let's move on. We got these fancy feminine washes. I'm not bashing. I'm not talking about any company. So I'm not bashing anybody. I'm just saying what is still out there, what's still available that people are still using. They're still buying these things. And if you do your due diligence and read the labels, first of all, you have to be a scientist to be able to read them. They're like 10 and 12 letter words, and then you've got the numbers behind them. So that lets you know they're chemicals. These are chemicals. Many of them carcinogens, cancer causing. These are things that we are using to clean our vaginal areas. Okay. And a little bit about that, cleaning the vagina. So we're going to use this as a demonstration of the vagina. Okay. So what we want to do when we're cleaning ourselves, if we're using something other than water, is just to clean the outside, never the inside. Let's leave that to vaginal steaming. And that's the only thing I'm really going to talk about in terms of things that are good for us to do versus the douche. So again, only the outside, never the inside with soap. Okay? Because that will then affect the pH of the vagina, cause irritation, itching, dryness, breakouts, you name it. Okay? So another thing, some of you all might have used this. I got into this a little bit when I was a teenager. Only because, friends told me about it. Again, nothing my mother told me. But again, this is fragrance. Fragrance is not natural. These are chemicals. Okay? I did talk about the wash. These are cleansing cloths. Okay? Other things that they've come up with so that we can cleanse ourselves. Okay? And let's not forget this. Some of us, after our cycles, we have yeast infections. We're itching, we're raw. And this is what they have for us to use to counteract that, along with prescribing antibiotics. Anti means against. Hey, thanks for joining, Jennifer. So those are all things that, not all things. I mean, I could have bought and presented to you. I mean, it's a whole aisle. Whatever you see down our special aisle, the feminine product aisle is owned. That's just minimal. They own other things, toilet tissue, the whole nine. But specifically about the feminine napkin industry, sanitary napkin industry, everything that you see down that aisle is what they own. And from even the pills that some women and girls take because of PMS or cramping, they own all of that as well. So again, for those that came late, we want to make sure that we're starting out with a vitamin. It doesn't have to be this one. Any vitamin, check the ingredients that have minerals and trace minerals, should be good. We want to also have a probiotic, again, for making sure that the bacteria that we have, because we do have bacteria, we have good and bad bacteria, friendly and unfriendly. And we want to make sure that if anything, we have more of the friendly or the good bacteria versus the bad. Okay. So now, other things that I want to share with you all, as it relates to the billion-dollar sanitary napkin industry is, many of us, we are with 6 Star, which is a minority-owned company that has developed an answer to the many problems that women and girls face as it relates to their cycles. We have, let me start with, make sure that's the right side up. We have our sanitary napkins. These are panty liners, okay? So for those of you who have heavy flow, we encourage you to wear the panty liners 1 week prior to your cycle so that the graphene, and we'll talk more about that in a moment, will have time to get into your bloodstream so that once your cycle does start, that you'll know there's a significant difference in your cycle. inshallah, Lord willing. So then we move to the moderate flow. Okay. And then heavy. Okay. And lastly, super heavy. So each one, like this is the longest. And this is what most women, thank you. This is what most women will grab because they're so used to the supers in the store, because maybe they're wearing 1 and 2 pads during their cycle because they bleed so heavily. So again, you start out with the panty liners, and then you can go to the super heavies if that's your preference. But what we're finding is whatever the issues are that women are having, it's minimized. And so like if you're bleeding really heavy, you don't bleed as heavy with each use. For each month, it gets better and better. Okay. And so this is our moderate, and if you notice, it's very thin and small, and it's sealed. And whoops, the reason we seal it is because for those of you nurses that are on here know that if this were open, you all can't use this. You cannot give it to your patient, because why? It is no longer sanitary. But yet the brands that we would get from the store, they're open, and there's a reason for that. The reason they're open is because of all the chemicals that are used to make the product, from the coating of the packaging and then the adhesive. So it has to remain open so that all of the chemicals can be released from it. And if you do your due diligence and research the harmful ingredients in sanitary napkins, you will find that the workers who create these pads for other companies are suited up. The whole white gas mask and suit and everything. So that lets you know how harmful it is. But yet, this is what we're putting on our vagina that time of the month. Okay. So now I'm going to open it. And I'm going to do a little demo for you all so that you can see just how absorbent it is. Now, the way that our pads are designed, it holds 300 times its weight in liquid. So everything that touches it will go to the bottom layer of the pad. I wish you all could feel this. Hey, thanks for joining. Welcome. But it's very soft. Whenever I do this where other women and men, because men are trying to become educated too, and actually men are the ones that are leading in sales, among us distributors, ironically. But it's very soft, very soft. So the OBGYNs that we have as our medical advisory have told us that women excrete, the average woman, let me say that, average woman excretes between 15 to 50 milliliters of blood on her cycle per day. Again, average. So with that, what I have done here is I have put exactly 50 milliliters in this syringe, and I'm going to saturate without trying to make a mess here. Oop, spoke too soon. But anyway, I'm going to saturate the pad with all of the water. Okay. And I forgot to point out to you all that we have leak guard protector in the center of our pad to make sure to ensure that all of the blood, when we excrete, the blood gets or goes directly into the pad and no other part of the pad. So of course you can't see what I'm doing here. But what I'm going to do, and I'm going to show you, this is the leak guard. There's both on both sides here. Okay. So we're gonna do like we did in high school. Some of you all went on to do this in college as well, is dissect a pad. Whoever thought? Now, I will tell you, I did get some water on here already. And the reason I have chosen to use this particular color is I want you to think about your cycle, that this is blood, okay? But we're gonna take it, I'm gonna put it, okay, on the pad directly, and we're going to press, 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 press. Okay, so as you can see, there's no additional water on here than what was on here, because I didn't use the syringe correctly. But this is why women on their cycles change so often, is because we're so wet, uncomfortable, and clammy. And some of us, we describe it as, you know, as if we're wearing a diaper, and that's what it feels like. But our women, when they switch to our pads, are changing less often. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and dissect the pad. I'm going to show you the top layer. I'm going to talk about each of the layers. So this is the top layer. As you can see, it's very porous. What does that mean? It has holes. You can see through it. Breathability. And this is important because we're 98.6 degrees already. Some of us get hotter during that time. And so we want to make sure that you know, there's no added moisture that we experience when we're wearing our pads, okay? And now I'm going to show you the absorbency system. Made a little mess here, but this is it. This may look familiar, especially if you have babies or have had babies. It is the same polymer that is used for diapers, okay? And so here I have some water, and I'm going to put this in here and show you just how much more absorbent our pads are. While I'm doing that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the strip that's inside of our pad. You saw this inside of the pad. You're like, well, what is this? Well, it's an algae strip that is infused with graphene. Do your due diligence and research it. Graphene is being used quite a bit in the medical industry. It is designed to actually heal the body, heal the entire body. So women who experience the cramping, now mind you, it's the uterus that is tightening. This is why we experience the cramping. It's contracting. So women are saying that they don't have any cramps or minimal cramps because of this. Women are saying that their cycles, I've heard many testimonials, they maybe have bled prior to using our pads 6 days, cut down to 3. And again, with each use, they notice that, you know, where they might have had 2 heavy days, they only have 1, and it's not as heavy. And, you know, they're not changing as often. Assalamu alaikum, ahlan, welcome. They're not changing as often. And this helps with our moods. For women who are no longer menstruating, women are using our panty liners, also infused with the graphene. Some of them, even the pads, you know, they might have incontinence issues. Men are using it as well, because one of the side effects to having prosthetic surgery Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, is that one of the side effects is that you're going to urinate on yourself. And so our men who have had this surgery are using our panty liners and pads. Hey, Christmas, thank you for joining. Welcome. So, and this, and I'll later show this, it helps to eat up the bacteria. So, again, we talked earlier about body odor or vaginal odor. You're not going to have that when you wear our pads. You're not going to have yeast infections when you wear our pads. You're not going to have the headaches. You know, all of these things, eventually, if you have them, they'll go away. Provided you're making sure what you're putting in your body is working for you instead of against you. Okay? And now we are going to talk about the bottom layer. Okay. I don't know if you all can see it, but there are 4 strips. 4 strips. Okay? Within those strips are holes, again, to ensure the breathability. Okay? And you won't be able to do this with most pads in the store, because theirs are trash bags. So not only do you have they have this decoration on top, and it's usually in the color blue. So we know that is a chemical that's coloring. Okay, so you have that. You have they're using bleach to because the absorbency system, believe it or not, is recycled trash. So in order to fool you and make you think that it's cotton, they bleach it. And so you've got your body temperature, the blue dye, you've got the bleach. All of these things combined emit a fume or chemical called dioxin and furan, which is worse than arson. Okay? So you've got that, and then the bottom layer is plastic. So, when you wear it, we know that when, the flow, where everything of toxins that we are supposed to emit during our cycle, release. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan, welcome. Thank you for joining. So everything that we experience during our cycle of toxins, which are supposed to be released through the blood, it's released when you stand up and lay down. But the moment that you sit down, it goes right back up into your bloodstream. So everything that I just talked about is going back up into your bloodstream. And if you're wearing tampons, that's even worse, because not only can you get exposed to toxic shock syndrome, but you can get exposed to or create, it will then create the fibroids that many of us have, endometriosis, things like this. So this is why we will never, people ask, will you have tampons or do you have them? No, we won't. We're going to tell you not to get them, and why. And that is the reason. Because it's just sitting there. It's supposed to be a flow. It's supposed to leave the body, not stay inside the body and go into your bloodstream. Okay? So, we have literally, you remember this was water, right? We've taken what is a liquid and turned it into a solid. Okay? And if you feel this, if you're ever fortunate to be in my presence or I in yours, and I do a demo, I will have you feel this because it's very cool. It's not wet at all. Not at all. See, I can snap my fingers. No problem. Okay? And so, where'd it go? Okay. Yeah. Alrighty. So we're going to take, hey, thank you for joining. Welcome. We're going to take the strip. Again, this is graphene. Wherever graphene is present, lets you know that there's energy present as well. And this is why, that it's live and present. This is why it's such a healing to us when we're on our cycles. So I'm going to put a little more water on it because it's dry. It's dry. And I'm going to show you the power of it. You see, this is a light bulb. A light bulb. I just lit the light bulb. This is how much energy is in our pads. Okay? And you notice I didn't get shocked. And it's not that kind of energy. But it is present. It's live and present in our pads. Okay? And what I'm going to do further, this is another cup of water. I'm going to add some iodine to it. Just a little bit. Just trying to make it a little bit. You see the color, right? Okay. And you can try this at home. Be a nice little experiment for the family. I made a mess here. I'm just trying to get some of it up because I don't want it to go on the floor. Okay. So this is another strip that was not part of the demo. It's dry. So we're going to take it and put it inside the cup. And we're going to swish it around, swish it around, swish it around. I put too much iodine in here, so I hope it doesn't, I don't have to do this too long. But what it's supposed to do is to show you that it goes back to just pure water. Yeah, I put too much iodine in here. I might have to do this for a whole longer than I wanted to. But it's already, I don't know if you all could tell. It kind of mixed around, but it's getting lighter in color. Ooh. Okay, I put too much in here. But we do this part of it just to demonstrate that it eats up the bacteria. I don't know how long I'll have to do this, and I don't want my arm to hurt. But so I'm just gonna leave that just sitting there, and maybe it will on its own without me turning it come back to pure water. Again, for those of you that came late, I did a demo of the jewel pads. These are our sanitary napkins. These are in particular the panty liners, and they have wings. We do have some without the wings. And what people are doing, especially if they have foot fungus, athlete's feet, is they're taking those panty liners and putting them in their shoes, because again, it eats up the bacteria. Okay, but these, we like to be secure as women, so these are the panty liners with wings, and there's 30 in this pack. And the moderate has 10. Okay, so on our website, everybody, including us as distributors, have the pads at $6. You buy them at $6. You can set up an auto ship so that it comes to you every month, so you don't have to think about it or try to hunt me down, figure out where I am so that you can get a pack. Because if you buy them from me, I'm going to sell them at $8. Okay, alrighty. And this is the heavy, and there's 8 in these. Okay, and this is again the super heavy, and there's 7 in these. And some who are cheap, they will say, okay, well, I can go to Walmart and get a pack of 30 for $6. Yeah, you can, and you're probably going to use all of those. Whereas what we're finding with the girls and women who use ours is they don't even use a whole pack. In fact, we did a study with over 300 women, and each were given the moderate. And of course, these women, this was in the Dominican Republic, they're not subjected to the things that we are here in America, but they didn't need any more than this one pack. But I like to encourage women and girls to have one of each, because maybe you'll start out spotting, then it will actually become a flow, and then you'll want to go to the moderate, and then maybe you're, not everybody's like that. Everybody's different. And then as your cycle picks up, it'll get a little heavier. Then you can go to this one, and then on the heaviest days, switch to this one, and then it goes back down. Okay. And then back to the panty liners too. Okay. Oops. Wow. So, that's what I wanted to talk about today, vaginal health. And I hope the information that I have shared has been a benefit to you. Do any of you all have any questions? And so to order them, you can go to healthypadsplus.com, or you can click the link in my bio where it says Jewel Pads. Okay. You can also become a distributor if you like. If you have like a spa or a business, if you want to make some extra money, I try to share with everyone that this is probably the best product to have in your possession. And the reason I say that is because if you think about a young girl when she starts her cycle, we're saying about 8 years old, and then when she reaches maturity and experiences menopause, that's 42 years. That's 42 years of income that you can make off a need-based product. Okay. Yeah, people want to lose weight, and there's a thing to that and all of that, but this is a need-based product. A need-based product. So you can create generational wealth, residual income by becoming a distributor. And if you don't want to be a distributor, you can become a wholesaler and retail it. Either way. So, no questions. So we have these girls' talks because, as I said, for those that missed it, I feel that young girls, before their cycle comes, is when they should be talked to about the changes that their bodies will go through. And so that once their cycle does come, they're not afraid. They're prepared. They know what to do. And one of the things I wanted to share with you all in that regard is that I encourage, and I host them if that's something you want to do for your daughter, rites of passage parties for our girls, where her peers are present, her elders, and this is these are conversations that our girls need to hear, because like I said, not everybody's like me, but my mother didn't talk to me. My best friend, her mother was the one, and she didn't talk to me. She Allah guided her to find a book that she shared with both of us. She gave us both one. It was a booklet, and encouraged us to read it. And if at any time we had any questions, that she was available to us. And I don't know what made her think to share that with me. What made her know or not know that my mother had or hadn't talked to me, but she hadn't. So I was thankful. However, being around different girls, you learn some other things as well that's not in the book. So we're trying to educate our girls ourselves. We don't want them to be influenced by others, because they're in schools, many schools, they're starting to feed them the agenda of homosexuality and gender roles. Meaning, like, if you're a boy, you can become a girl. If you're a girl, you can become a boy, and it's okay. Things like this. They're teaching them about sex toys, and in the first grade, I remember I shared something like that on Facebook, where a teacher was showing how a dildo is used, and sexual positions and things like this. So it's a good thing, for those of you who are educating your children at home, this is the best thing. And I also shared, I didn't have it as a post, but I did share, there was a couple that allowed their child unsupervised to play games. And ads would pop up that made suggestions to her of inappropriate behavior. And eventually the parents became aware of it. And it's targeted at our children, because they tried to play the game, her and her husband tried to play the game as who they were, and it wouldn't, those particular ads wouldn't come up. But the moment that they covered the camera on the computer and acted as if they were the daughter, sure enough, the ads popped up, and they stay there. They don't move. They have to watch that ad before they can continue with the game. So we want our power back. We want to teach our children ourselves, okay? So I don't see any other questions. And, again, I talked about making sure that what we're putting in our bodies works for us and not against us. Making sure that we have proper nutrients. And so you can feel free to go to the link in my bio. I don't have nutraburst specifically, a tab for it specifically, but you can click lose 5 pounds in 5 days, and you can find the nutraburst and other products there. Okay. And if you go to my regular website, www.rhadiahhutchen.com, I have a number of other things there that you can look to purchase as well. So I want to thank you all for taking your time to come to my live. I know I haven't been on here. Usually the work that I do doesn't allow me. And by the time I'm done for the day, I'm done. I'm ready to do my prayer and go to bed for the most part. And so this is why you haven't seen me. But I'm trying to work it so that in the near future, I will be able to come on here every day. Yes, every day. Hopefully, inshallah. Minimum 3 times a week, for eventually working up to once a week. Once every day. So you all have been great. I do thank you all once again. And as I always say, be resilient. Inshallah. Have a good one. And you all can share this. I'm going to save it. Be sure to share it with whomever you feel may benefit from it. Inshallah.